And so what we see then is this absolute conspiracy of really a pre-trial. And on so many levels, this is corrupt, this is a conspiracy, it's wrong, it's awful, it's terrible in every way. Now, don't think that the Romans, that the Jews of the time didn't have strict laws governing the way trials and arrests were to be run. Of course they did. Talking about first century Jews, we're talking about the Roman Empire that had a very stringent code. A very stringent code, a very stringent practice for the way these things worked. And they were breaking all of the rules. And so first of all, what you see is them arresting Jesus at night, which is illegal. It needs to be during the daytime. They had the equivalent of Miranda rights. He's not told what he's charged with. He's just seized, arrested, taken not to a court, but to the house of the high priest. And then the judge begins to question, without charge, Jesus. The judge starts to question him as if he is a lawyer. It's a complete sham. Now the chief priests and the whole council were seeking testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but they found none. They couldn't find it. They couldn't find a reason. They couldn't find anything, a testimony, consistent testimony to put him to death. And by law, that the case should have been completely dismissed, but they began to turn the screw and do what they could. For many bore false witness against him, but their testimony did not agree. They couldn't even get that right. And some stood up and bore false witness against him. And they said, we heard him say, I will destroy this temple that is made with hands, and in 3 days I will build another, not made with hands. And so they're trying to get him to say his intent is to physically attack the most significant earthly symbol of God, the temple. Jesus, have you no answer to make? What is it that these men testify against you? And then we see this amazing declaration, this bringing together of all of the Old Testament and everything that's really pointed to the Messiah, and Jesus brings it all together with this statement and offends everyone pretty significantly in the process. But he remained silent and made no answer. Again, the high priest asked him, are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed? And Jesus said, I am. And you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of heaven. And Mark has this precisely like this on purpose. Exactly as Peter said in chapter 8, verse 29, you are the Messiah, Suea Christos, you are the Messiah. Now, Greek doesn't have the punctuation, doesn't have the question mark, and it is written identically. It's exactly the same. So just as Peter has declared and has said, you are the Messiah, so now with scorn, the high priest asks, you are the Messiah? And then, meanwhile, Peter is denying that he even knows Jesus. They have absolutely got him now, because they can't kill him, but the Romans can, and the only thing that Rome are going to kill him for, really, is if he's claiming to be someone equal to or superior to the emperor, right? Caesar. You need to see this is filled with irony. He has just said in a sham of a court, okay, in a quickly assembled court that's taking place in a house with deceit and malice, he has just essentially said, you have no power over me. I am the judge. I am the judge who's empowered by the Ancient of Days. I am the one that David spoke about who sits at the right hand. I am the one who spoke to Moses. The court goes berserk. So he's evoking the imagery, the very, very familiar imagery for those present of the Messiah, the one who would be given power, be given dominion. And of course, he's about to be given that. All authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Listen to what they do. And the high priest tore his garments and said, what further witnesses do we need? You have heard his blasphemy. What is your decision? And they all condemned him as deserving death. And some began to spit on him and to cover his face and to strike him, saying to him, prophesy. Come on, king. Come on, Messiah, prophesy to us. They mock him. What's the very next thing that Mark puts in the text? Peter fulfilling Jesus' prophecy. Judas wept for himself. Peter wept because he realized his sin and repented.